friends. My friend.
For me, I've always been a bodybuilder, an athlete, a performer. I mean, you can be the most gifted bodybuilder in the world. If you can't sell it and give it away, nobody's gonna buy it, nobody's gonna clap, nobody's gonna put down #1. So I always felt that I was really caught up in and enjoyed the performance part of bodybuilding. However, as I mentioned in many seminars, I believed that you had to be an athlete. I believed you had to be a performer, as well as a businessman, as well as a diplomat. But I guess the performer in me, the stage in me, I needed, I don't just go out and pose, I need to touch people with what I do. I need to have you feel something from what I do. And I felt, as in '86, I hit the high point of making that connection with audiences and people. There wasn't at that point much more I could see myself doing. I didn't just want to do it for the money. I never do things for the money, I do it for the passion. Money's always a nice side effect. Bodybuilding is everything I wanted it to be. When I first went into bodybuilding, I wanted to make money at it, I wanted to touch people with what I did, and I wanted to win the Olympia. I'm a little bit despondent about not having that trophy in my trophy cabinet, but I wouldn't trade that for the experiences that I have from bodybuilding. The experiences I've had and the kind of situations I've involved myself in and been lucky enough to be involved in should come with being Mr. Olympia. Whatever happened for a reason, I guess. I'm not saying I retired now, I know it sounds like that. I'm reserving the right for me to make the decision, okay? Right now, I feel that I can do more for bodybuilding and for my personal career by going into films. Bodybuilding is something we cherish, we seek muscle and the development of it, and it's a lifestyle, and it's a religion almost. To sacrifice that size seems almost like, why? As we go on, I hope I'll be able to relay that message to you and tell you why. I never left bodybuilding. I was born and raised in the gym. This Olympia thing has been so important to me. My whole life since age 10, I wanted to be Mr. Olympia. And I finally realized that it's not about winning the title, it's about what happens in bodybuilding between us. This steroid issue, this whole steroid issue to me is so blown out of proportion. The media makes it so popular. In fact, Ben Johnson and getting busted is like he popularized steroids. I think Sean Ray getting busted also did the same thing. It's like, and I'm tired of it almost, but I'm willing to direct myself towards it. I think that drug testing is a joke. I really think this drug testing nonsense is stupid. Okay, now, why, okay? I'll tell you why. I think because every athlete that I know who is tested negative is on steroids. What drug testing does, and what most sports federations wanted to do, is to satisfy the media, to see bodybuilding in the Olympic sport as an Olympic sport as well.
It can't be if everybody's on drugs, can it?
Well, it's not only bodybuilding.
Yeah, but they're going to look at bodybuilders, aren't they?
Because of the publicity. Bodybuilding is a very visual sport.
Yeah. So yes. They're going to test them for drugs every time, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay, well, look. Now, let me tell you something. The Sean Ray thing.
No.
The Sean Ray thing. If I was Arnold and I was producing the show, and if Sean Ray and Samir and Ralph Mueller were exposed and busted for using steroids, and I had my name on this show, I don't know if this happened, but I'm just guessing. The Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic, right? And all of a sudden the media is picking up the steroid issue and associating steroids with Arnold's name. And he's just been appointed by the President of the United States in his position as far as the Director of Physical Fitness in Washington, D.C. He has 300 people under him. I would be disturbed by the fact that steroid issue is being exposed with my name. And I would probably, if I was Arnold, I'd probably, I don't know if this is happening, but if I was Arnold, I'd call Ben Weir and say, listen, Ben, if my show was tested, I want the Olympia tested for reals. I want you to expose everybody on steroids. I want that show to be the same thing as my show. I'd be disturbed. I'm not sure he is, but I have these feelings. And I think that Ben Weir's getting a little nervous going, maybe we're gonna have to test Olympia for reals. What if Lee Haney's busted? I'm not saying you take steroids, I don't know that. I don't know. I guess as good as mine, okay? But if you were busted, maybe that you wouldn't win 7 times in a row. Whoa. Good way to get out of that one. Or maybe you step down, or I just think in fairness to all the bodybuilders, to everyone, that the drugs testing is an inappropriate procedure. And that's the way I view it. And I see things happening in the sport which I don't really want to happen. What steroids are most effective? What steroids are the most dangerous? First of all, I think it's important to analyze when you're considering hormonal therapy, hormonal manipulation, you need to consider your body type. I mean, most modern day ectomorphs, you'll find the long, lean type of people who have more inherently endurance fiber, red fiber, like Lehaney, like Arnold, usually thrive on more androgens, more androgenic material, mainly because there's a need for more enhanced sarcoplasm, the fluid-like substance which the muscle bathes in. In terms of mesomorphs, there's more use of higher anabolic ratings. Mesomorphs being shorter, stockier, more white fiber type people who thrive on heavier weights, heavier explosive movements, and less endurance work. White fiber people thrive on high intensity training. The white fiber people usually find, like myself, thrive on higher anabolic ratings, as I said. And it's usually the way that I think steroid interplay is directed, according to my observations. So, what I'm suggesting to you is, before you even consider anything, before you even decide to take it, I'm not saying you should take it. I'm not doing an advertisement for steroids, but I'm saying if you are involved in this, these are my feelings about it, and what I see being done with steroids, as far as taking them, why, and what kind of body. Obviously, higher anabolic ratings are much safer. Well, I know this. I'm repeating. Hopefully it's something you know. If not, higher anabolic ratings are much safer, like Winstrol, like Anavar. Things like Anadrol 50, rocket fuel, things like pure testosterone are more androgenic and attribute more to sarcoplasm attainment. That's the way I see drugs being selected as far as what choices to make in terms of their application to the body. I don't mean to be giving you exact formulas, but if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. Okay, and we'll continue to do that. So, I answered your question.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you believe I did that? Yeah, sure do.
How do you get growth hormone?
Growth hormone? Everybody takes it that I know. In fact, everybody I know takes everything. It's like, you can take everything, one of these things got to work. Shotgun approach. I think most amateurs take more than the professionals, from my viewpoint. Growth hormone really should be the ideal substance. Growth hormone should be the substance of choice, really. I mean, in terms of what it does according to the literature. It should allow the steroids to work more efficiently and better. And most people I see take growth hormone seem to have drastic changes, especially in accordance with utilizing stored body fat. And I find that when I first watched a lot of women take growth hormone, there was a rapid fat reduction. A lot of this is what a lot of women did to get around the test initially. They used growth hormone to last so many weeks rather than steroids. And ideally, growth hormone worked tremendously for the women as far as utilizing stored body fat. And as far as men, I find that it promotes tremendous appetite. Tremendous appetite. I've never taken growth hormone. People I know that take it, they're eating 10,000, 12,000 calories a day. And to me, it's like, wow, I eat that in a week sometimes. It's unbelievable. But growth hormone is applied nowadays, even though it's very expensive, to most bodybuilding regimes, if you will. I would say all the pros, if I may be honest. I'm not saying who takes it. Okay, I can't name names. I'll name myself. I'll talk about me, but I can't talk about anybody else. Where else?
Tom, is it true that testosterone is a very crude drug?
Is testosterone a very crude drug? Crude. certainly has used a lot of its crude. I need more explanation as far as crude.
Well, we had reports that top bodybuilders on 1,000 milligrams a week of testosterone.
It's a lot of stuff. Powerlifters, strength athletes, I've known to take something up to those numbers, 1,000 milligrams a week, yeah. But in terms of bodybuilding, I think it would be absurd. I'm sure there are people that take that much. Testosterone was one of the earliest steroids developed. It was and it was something that was, they tried to make an anabolic situation, and they worked many years towards that. As far as the true androgenic agents that would be testosterone, that was something that was, they tried to work away from. But now they're finding use for testosterone in various sports medicine applications as well as other, I'm sure, medical applications. So yeah, I guess in a way it would be a crude if you look at it in terms of when it was developed and how it was intended to be used and what's being used nowadays and what happened since then. But it is still used very much. You know, steroids are steroids. There are many different versions of steroids. But they're all basically the same thing, a combination of androgenic and anabolic properties, deviating chemical composition.
Should that be good better stack than 1 or 2 steroids together?
Usually I've seen it done that way. Inject one in oil, yeah, almost always. I've known people to do that. Bodybuilders to do that, yeah. 3 or 4 injectables together in the same syringe? No, maybe 3. I've seen that done. Yeah. And you know, I was the kind of person that never thrived on a lot of drugs personally. I've seen that done though. I know some bodybuilders that take a lot and need a lot and seem to be able to use more. I could never function that way. I find when I took anything androgenic, highly androgenic, I got too blocky and too much sarcoplasm. I looked like Tim Belknap. Remember Tim Belknap? Very vascular, very in shape. He was almost too much sarcoplasm. He had the sarcoplasm that Lee Haney should have and does have. And I feel that it was a little bit too much for Tim. And yes, I would direct our conversation towards his regime, if you will. Get my drift.
It's better to stack than 1 or 2 drugs taken at high doses, but 1 or 2 drugs, or is it better to stack? To take 3 or 4 in smaller doses?
The whole stacking thing to me is I think it's sort of, tends to present some kind of I mean, you're not sure what's working at this point. Usually the combination of 2 drugs or sometimes 3 was all I was involved in. Stacking more than that, something I find that it's senseless. And I think you're not sure what's working or what isn't. In terms of stacking, it is done to different degrees, but it's not something that is a sound scientific procedure based upon the knowledge of hormonal manipulation among people who claim to be experts. And I don't think anybody really knows how to take steroids. All we know right now is that it does work in terms of aiding the athlete. And the problem with the issue, I think, is that most people who take steroids, you know, aren't ill. And I think society looks at bodybuilders and athletes as, realizing there's a benefit to risk ratio in drug therapy. And why impose risk on an athlete? I don't think society understands the rationale of an athlete. I mean, an athlete feels that they're on this earth because, you know, they have to be the best athlete they can be. And they breathe and think and live bodybuilding. And if a drug comes along to help them get closer without taking the risk of killing themselves, most athletes will take that risk because they'll die anyhow, mentally and spiritually inside. They have that life and death attitude to get there, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have that commitment, I mean, that's what an athlete has. But in terms of society, they tend to believe that birth control pills are okay. Now, are not both birth control pills hormones? But that's okay to impose these risks upon the female gender, and that's accepted. But steroids and athletes are not. I see the similarity existing. I'm not necessarily trying to do a commercial for steroids now. But I'm trying to lay the facts on as I see them. I'll continue to do so today. And I don't want to be taken as being pro-steroids. I don't have them for sale in the back. No. Okay. I think that steroids are overestimated, but I do think they work. There are some procedures that have been taken by others, and it's the mystery of it all. I think it's overrated to a large degree. And I think going back to getting the minimal getting the most effect out of the minimal amount of drug seems to be what works best for everyone else I know who has a pro, and myself included. A lot of controversy, a lot of mystery exists around the whole issue too. And I think it's rather simple. And although as you get further and further involved in hormonal therapy, you deal in levels. You deal in testosterone and androgenic anabolic levels in the body. I mean, anabolic situations, anabolic drugs, attribute to muscular enhancement primarily at a cellular level, whereas androgenic drugs do not. They work through the back door. They raise androgenic rating, slightly raising the anabolic balance, if you will. Levels exist in the body. The anabolic is usually higher than the androgenic. But you can play with the levels. And as you know, you don't usually want to shut the levels down. You never want to get to the point to where you suppress your own natural secretion. Unfortunately, this happens with steroid therapy, which is why you can't do it all the time. After about 8 or 10 weeks, you adjust, get off. And I found that there was a lot of natural suppression in me, even though I was on and off decreasing dosage patterns most of my life, and my 10-year career, if you will. I found that after I got off, about 3 years, about a year and a half later, all of a sudden it's like I'm on steroids now. That my body's working the way it used to with steroids. I think I'm producing more than I used to naturally. A lot more, and my body's overcompensating that way. As far as me not taking drugs now, I just don't have the... It's tempting. It's real tempting to get ready to do another film type thing and take steroids, because I know how to do it. But for some reason, I don't desire to do it. I want this personal challenge, these kind of things I like. That's why I like acting, I guess, and that's why I like bodybuilding all my life. I think that the bodybuilder has certain genetic traits that make them, allow them to get to certain levels. The bodybuilder has certain mental abilities, certain psychological ability to train hard and to make their body insert certain emotional awareness to make the body change in the gym. I mean, if you just take steroids and train, it doesn't grow. If you just train, lift weights, it happens from within. Your brain makes the body change. I believe, yes, I would have been close to where I was. The only thing, what I received personally was a drug look, if you will. I mean, a saran wrap finish in my skin. I've always found, I get tired of placing second. When I was a young lad, competing in my first few contests, I was like, tired. I wanted to know how that guy got so veiny and so vascular, okay? Thank you. And after much research and much trial and error, I decided and accepted the fact that I have to take steroids if I want to compete with steroid users, and especially if the judges are judging a steroid look, a drug look. I believe it is possible to create a constructive metabolism similar to chemicals today. Maybe in the future it may duplicate it, but not yet. To be honest, the chemicals still seem to have more positive side effects, with some negative as they indicate according. There's some stress put on the body, okay? I'm not gonna say you're gonna die from steroids. We all know that. We all took steroids here, we all died. And most of the sport community hasn't died, but drugs do have a possible risk involved, and amino acids don't. I mean, when you take drugs, there's a stress on the liver, there's a stress on the kidneys, depending how much, how long, your specific body, how you react to that chemical. There's some questions that arise from steroids and using drugs, and those risks will be present. No matter how much we caress the positive side effects, we can't deny that those negative things do exist, and risks do exist. And I want to hit that first. But as far as creating constructive metabolism, with amino acid therapy, I think it's very possible. Ideally, what you would want to do is consume more than 2 or 3 different kinds of protein at one time in each meal. In other words, ideally, it would be great to have beef, chicken, tuna, eggs, and turkey all in one meal, okay? Now that's kind of a lot of calories. It's kind of like, it's very inconvenient to do that. The reason you would want to include all those amino acids, all those protein types, it would be basically because you wish it would be desirable to impose a lot of different amino acid structures into your system at one time. Okay? So now science, scientific data, scientists have addressed the issue, and they realize that they've created a amino acid supplement. And from my understanding, from my reading, that L-crystalline free-form amino acid is the best as far as taking amino acids. And they've created amino acid structures that are cultivated from bacteria, if you will. Now, I'm not a scientist now, that's probably as far as I'm going to go, or should go, because I'm not, Fred Hatfield should be able to go into that. But coming back now, since it's very inconvenient and difficult, and there's calories involved in eating that many kinds of protein with each meal, it'd be very advantageous to take your one protein meal and consume amino acids, complete, full structure, full free-form amino acids with each meal, which would assure you of a wide array of amino acid structures infiltrating the system at one time, which then can be possibly adopted into the myofibril element and slide into the myofibril element and enable hypertrophy to take place. Okay? It's making muscle growth more probable to occur, like steroids. Steroids, one of the positive side effects from steroids, they create a more constructive metabolism, nitrogen retention. That's exactly what we're trying to do here with amino acids. I would suggest you do that. Also, before and after each training session, on an empty stomach this time, I'm very fond of taking amino acids, branched-chain amino acids, independently of the other amino acids, and taking those in my empty stomach just before I train and just after, for recuperation and so on. And after that, I mean, they help me recuperate, like steroids do. They help me to get back to the gym sooner, train harder, sooner, like steroids do. Okay? Simply, that's the way I see amino acids being of value to the bodybuilder, to the athlete, and how they can simulate the chemical application. Where else did you go? What was the next part of your question?
The second part was just any techniques you give to the pointer as far as leg training.
Any techniques as far as a pointer, as far as my leg training? You gotta believe. And I was taught to train by weightlifters, okay? And they taught me that the squat rack was the altar. Now this is where life and death takes place. You have to give that much of yourself. I think it's the most important thing you have to have in bodybuilding, commitment. You have to devote yourself at that moment to give it that much. You have to be totally spent. I think that's very, very important. In terms of leg training, you have to squat. Okay? Every major bodybuilder has squatted or does squat. And in order to achieve your full bodybuilding potential, I feel it's necessary to perform the squat. Now, how do you perform the squat? I would suggest you squat like a weightlifter, not like a powerlifter. Okay? You ever see a powerlifter squat? Nothing against powerlifters, okay? But powerlifters, you know, butt, it's all back, lower back and butt. I would suggest squatting like a weightlifter. Feet relatively close together, bar high on your neck, going down, preferably parallel. At least, I would tend to say below parallel if you have the flexibility, inherent flexibility. Coming straight up. Use keep your back straight, head up. Like a weightlifter. Education is very important. Education is real important in bodybuilding. I mean, you know, knowing how to train, knowing how to organize your workouts based upon red and white fibers, based upon nutrition, supplementation, hormonal, a steroid interplay. Those things are real important, and that's a part of bodybuilding, that's a part of sport form. Okay, and we've been discussing these things. And I think it's important to have that education and that knowledge accumulated in your repertoire. Besides education, there's instinct and attitude. I mean, very few bodybuilders have all three of these things I'm about to name, but some have education. Besides education and besides instincts and attitudes, there's genetics. You really can't change genetics. You're born with what you have. Things like biogenetic engineering and test tube bodybuilding is not done yet. Not yet, anyhow. Okay? So genetics, you work with what you have. You can't change that. But the two things I think that, very few bodybuilders have, how many bodybuilders really have great genetics, great instincts and attitudes, and great education, great awareness? Very few. I think Arnold may have been one, at least in his day. His instincts were real big for him, as they are. I think every bodybuilder, they have that. I've always been the kind of character that said what's on my mind. I've always been the kind of bodybuilder that said, this is the way I feel. When I was told to stop squatting, I squatted more. When I was told to, well, I don't know, I can't get into everything, but I like to do things my way. I think it's important to have your own self-expression. What happens in bodybuilding lots of times, you get so many different ideas from so many different people, it's confusing and disturbing. I think it's real important to be centered in yourself, with who you are and what works for you, and to be really centered on those facts and experiments that you conducted in the sport, especially before a contest. When I was competing as a professional and actively involved in competing, I would train every day no matter what. A lot of times when I was on tour before here, I'd come home at 4 in the morning, back to my hotel room, okay? And I was out doing things, doing research. And I'd come back, and I'd get up at 6 and go to the gym. Oscar State used to drive me around back then in my early tours to England. And we'd go to the next hotel, and I would train every morning, get sun every morning, no matter what. But at this point, I didn't want to sacrifice my personal health too much. As far as sleeping, I'm older now, because I need more sleep, and I'm functioning a little bit lazier as far as training like I used to, just traveling. But a normal routine would be something like this. I get up in the morning about anywhere from 7 to 8 o'clock nowadays. And it used to be different. It used to be 5 in the morning. But now I get up about 7 or 8 o'clock, I'm in the gym by 10, and I train until 12. Okay, I usually eat some carbohydrates in the morning, mainly fruit. I feel when I eat fruit first, it allows my stomach to start working and get ready for the acceptance of other more solid foods like protein foods and so on. Usually the night before I train, I eat a heavy pasta meal, a lot of starch. I like to have that present in me. So when I go to the gym, I get that boom, that response. When you get that response to the gym, that's usually caused from stored carbohydrate in the muscle called glycogen. Without that storage in the muscle, it's very difficult to get a pump, to get a reaction, to get close, to get that fun we're looking for. Okay, so carbohydrates are real important in the gym. And so I usually eat about anywhere from 300 to 400 grams of carbohydrate a day, usually. My calories usually range from, right now, I'm trying to gain weight. I'm supposed to eat 4,000 according to my calculations and the computer readouts nowadays. Nowadays they have computers, you see. You can actually computerize your whole workout. I'm lucky if I eat 3,000, 35 sometimes. Now I'm eating about 15 to 2 when I'm traveling. I don't have time to eat. Later on during the day, after I train, I'll have a protein meal with carbohydrates, any kind of protein, usually lean protein like fish, with some starch. And later on in the day, I'll have another small protein sandwich, and later on in the evening, I'll have, lately I've been having steak, beef. I haven't eaten beef in years, but I have a need to gain weight right now, especially right now, traveling and doing a lot of exhibitions and seminars. I have to eat steak a lot to get my body weight up. Keep in mind, I'm not using any, what do you call it, gear? Gear is the word you guys call it, so I have to do things like I did when I was a teenager. Without the gear, and it's possible to do a lot, but you got to be more systematic with it. But a usual day for me is like that, and it changes from day to day, depending on what I'm doing and what I'm working on. When I was doing plays, the actual performance, the play, the effort to do the play and to be involved in the play in the theater, that took place in my training. And I got into running during that time. That's what I was doing. It was the easiest, less time consuming. That's pretty much an average day for me. And I usually finish up working and trying to leave all thoughts of bodybuilding and bodybuilding-related business about 8 o'clock in the evening. I watch TV for a couple hours or something. It's a real simple day during the week. My wife, I've been living in 2 different places. My wife lives in Ohio, and I live in Los Angeles. And I've been flying back and forth, and she's been flying back and forth. We've been having one of those commuter-type marriages. What do you call those marriages? Train, very bi-coastal, not bisexual, bi-coastal. Okay, I want to clarify that. Some people don't understand when I talk, I have an accent. Recently, when I was leaving for England, my wife moved to California. She moved to California the same day I left for England. I said, I'll see you later. And it was kind of weird, but this is the business I'm in. I'm in the business of traveling and touching people, not necessarily with my hands, but with my emotions. And I need to do this kind of thing. It's something that I think is my purpose, if you will. And that the acting thing is just an extension, and hopefully a future, more larger extension of what I'm doing now. I never liked the push-pull routine. I've tried virtually everything I had to say during the course of my career. Really, training is an extension of your personality. You train like your personality indicates, and usually your personality, I mean, your instincts and attitudes lead you to train a certain style, and that usually is in direct relation to your body type, usually. I formulated ways of training that I like to do for me. And in terms of training, you gotta be selfish with your training and find out things that work for you. I did a lot of, my favorite way to train, and the way I resort to training right now, my first, and I didn't do initially, but when I started back this last year, I will do this. My first day of the week, I like to do back and just back and rear delts. One day on back and rear delts. I find I need to do back first. It's always been a weak body part for me, a hard body part, a difficult body part to isolate. For me, I'm not saying this would necessarily work for you that way, but for me, I found it working back first. The first workout I do in a series will be my weakest area as far as the ability to concentrate. So I work back and rear delts first. The second day I would do chest and lateral delts, and that worked real good for me. The third day I would do usually legs, leg day, and the fourth day was more exclusively an arm day, and I needed to do that for arms. I would have a 4 days I would train the whole body. Usually I would take 1 or 2 days off, depending on how I felt and how I wanted to recuperate. On a really hard leg training day, I mean really hard, like 600 and some pounds for reps, 500 and some pounds for reps, 400 pounds for reps, going down to 2 1/4 for reps, hack squats, leg extensions, leg curls, and do calves to failure. I'm ready. I can't think about training legs for another 10 days. I mean, numbers are numbers, and 72 hours is an average number which you need to rest. By the way, you don't grow in a gym. You grow outside the gym when you're home, resting, eating, and sleeping. Okay? So, in terms of my training style, it was something. It is usually develops into that kind of training system, and I very rarely train any differently. It seems to be the way I like to put it together, and I always allow for recuperation. Bodybuilding is much more than taking steroids. It's much more than just how much weight you can lift so many times. There's a lot of tremendous things that happen emotionally, and I talked about that earlier. Things that happen that make the body change mentally and emotionally, and that's my primary emphasis is upon usually those instances.